We live in a twilight world. Yeah, man, let's do a quick little personal story about serendipity and or synchronicity or whatever you want to call it. Messages from the deep, manipulation of timelines, whatever you want to call it. So last night I was looking through some of my micro SD cards. This has got all of my footage saved to it. I've got about 9 micro SD cards and they all kind of look the same, so I don't really know what's got what on it until I plug it in and start viewing it. So the first one I pick out, I plug it in, kind of an oldish micro SD card, back from when I was exploring Cornwall back in 2021 during the scandemic lockdown days. I did a cycle route down one of the old China clay mine railways, and it ended up in the Eden Project. And the Eden Project itself is built in a former China clay mine in Cornwall. So yeah, man, Cornwall used to have a big China clay industry. At one point, it was the biggest exporter of China clay in the world back in the 19th century, back in the Empire, British Empire days. And yeah, so now, you know, the Eden Project's there, the Eden Project is like the world's biggest indoor rainforest. As you can see from the picture, you know, you all know it, this big glass dome structure, very interesting stuff. I'll do a separate video on the Eden Project another time, because once again, because it was the lockdown, I was going there, no one was around, so I basically had the whole Eden Project to myself. Anyway, so I'm looking at these videos, and yeah, it's all around the China clay mines of Cornwall. So moving on to today, I turn on the TV and the news is on, and guess what? Britain is about to have a gold rush in regards to lithium, all happening around the China clay mines in Cornwall. How crazy is that? You know, of all the videos I have on my micro SD cards of all my travels around the world, the first one I pick up is me in Cornwall around the China clay mines. And then I turn on the TV today, and the big news is a giant, they're calling it a gold rush of lithium ion in Cornwall, which is going to bring Britain basically to lithium mining independence, meaning they're not going to rely on China. And apparently they're going to be like the biggest lithium, it's going to be the biggest lithium mine in Europe, apparently. So this is kind of weird stuff, you know, in regards to like serendipity or, like I said, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. I just always find this interesting when this kind of stuff happens. You know, in the many worlds theory, there's there's an infinite amount of things going on in the world. And the thing that's mainstream news today here in the UK is exactly what I was looking at last night on my micro SD cards. So, now when things like this happen, it always brings me back to the film Interstellar. Yet again, our time-traveling Time Lord, Christopher Nolan. Interstellar goes up there along with Tenet and Inception, and of course The Prestige, the Dark Knight trilogy, and so on. Even Memento. But yeah, Interstellar, you know, Interstellar's a great film, especially when you watch it the second, third, fourth, and so on times around. The first 20 minutes is kind of amazing because, you know, and spoiler alerts, people haven't seen it, I'm going to talk about the film now. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. But essentially, the beginning of the film, they believe they've got a ghost in the house. Weird paranormal things are happening. Certain books are getting thrown off the bookshelf. Sort of patterns are appearing in the dust. There's obviously a lot of sand coming in the house because basically it's set in the future where the earth has become a dust ball. So there's loads of sandstorms. So when the sand comes in the window and the sand on the floor, the ghost is writing messages in the sand and so on. And then as obviously, you know, if you've seen the film, you know that is Cooper, the main character, from the future, sending messages back to himself. Now, I do wonder if that is actually happening in this reality. We know that Christopher Nolan, there's something going on with that guy. He's clearly kind of signaling something to us, the audience. And yeah, man, I do wonder if, once we get to a certain stage in the future, perhaps death, do we have the ability to travel back down our timeline and send messages to our past selves in a way to manipulate our timeline? I mean, that would be pretty fun. That'd be very, very interesting. I'm kind of open to this idea. Also kind of similar to the Adjustment Bureau, which is obviously a film based on the book called The Adjustment Team by Philip K. Dick. And in that, there's an organization called the Adjustment Team or the Adjustment Bureau who are basically manipulating people's timelines by doing simple things like just, making sure that the lights turn red at a certain moment in time, which will have a knock-on butterfly effect throughout their whole day and alter their timeline. If you remember the film, they want to keep the Matt Damon character away from that woman because they know if he meets that woman, they're going to fall in love, and their plans for him becoming the next president are over because they know if his love for that woman outweighs his desire to be a president. So they're basically doing everything they can to make sure that him and this woman never meet as they are moving about New York. But back to the interstellar concept, ghosts are ghosts, us from the future, trying to send messages back for themselves, trying to alter our timelines. I don't know, man. That's an interesting theory and something I'm going to look at, I think, a lot more in the future. We live in a twilight world. There are no friends at dusk.